What is up, my good people? We are back again with another great jam-packed, loaded edition of Talking Ball with my boy Faro, with your boy Spongerelli in the house today. And like I say, we got a jam-packed, like reacts from last weekend, big games this weekend. We got a full slate again, but I'm gonna flip the script because we do this at the end. I'm gonna say, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the notifications. Shout out to all the people, all of our brothers, sisters, familia, families, everybody giving us love on this podcast. Please continue to show the love, share the podcast, listen to the podcast, like the podcast. We hope you guys enjoy it. Like I say, we just sit here, talk a little ball, and break down some games and who we like, who we don't like, who we predict to win. So, we appreciate all y'all, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Shout out to Big Rick, Jakari, my man Moon, everybody listening. Everybody out there, just share as much as possible.
Yeah, like I say, we said this was going to be a slow grind, a slow process. We're still learning in the process. We're still trying to make it better. And like I say, just bear with us, and we'll continue to make it better and brighter and fun and all that. So we just really, who gives a crap about all that? We're just going to talk some good football and break down some games and give you some analysis on what we think and how we think the games have been going and who's going to win and who's going to lose, who's looking good, who's looking bad, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the biggest game of our area teams, the three that we cover, the big three, the Florida State, and Miami Hurricanes. It would have to be the Florida State Seminoles, baby. They finally break the losing streak of 7 games against Dabo and Clemson on the road
crazy.
in Death Valley.
I didn't even realize it was 7. I thought it was almost 3 or 4.
Almost a decade, man. Clemson's
nuts.
kind of they've ran the ACC. They've been playing good ball. Dabo's been doing a hell of a job at Clemson, and he's been recruiting. That's really one of the main reasons he gets the top talent to go there, and they've put together a lot of good seasons. We talked about what his beliefs are on the portal and getting transfers and all that stuff, but bottom line, Florida State, we felt like watching them so far this year, because we watch them at a close eye, obviously. They just kind of they look like they're a whole lot better than they've been in the past. They've got the playmakers on offense and defense. Jordan Travis is playing well.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, I was a little bit like we both said, does Vegas know something? Because that line was a little tight, 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
But Clemson, had the early game against Duke where they just turned the damn ball over like brutally in that game and lost on the road opening weekend of college football. And, somehow Florida State found themselves in a dogfight. It was a little back and forth, but it was a heck of a ball game. Some of the numbers kind of surprised me. What was your big takeaway from the game Saturday in Death Valley?
Little old Clemson, as Dabo would say. What got me, what was strange to me was the first half where the Florida State front four couldn't get any pressure on Klubnik. And I thought the Clemson offensive line did a great job of protecting him and opening holes. They were spying a little bit, but he still was able to get off. So it was really surprising that Verse and Fisk and Peyton really didn't get off in the first half. And then you notice towards the end of the first half, second half, Adam Fuller starts sending more blitzes, putting more guys at the line of scrimmage to try to disguise blitzes or who's coming, who's not coming, and getting pressure on them. But that first half was, like I say, they were just driving up and down the field on them. And that shocked me a little bit. I thought the Florida State defensive line would have been a little bit better than that. But I guess we still got to give Clemson's offensive line credit.
Yeah, no, I think echoing on that sentiment, I saw a stat where, they said, what kind of adjustments did Florida State make in that game? And I know they said the blitz rate in the first half was 10%. The blitz rate in the second half was 40%.
Yeah.
And that was the what was, I think, the difference in the game was making that defensive adjustment, because Florida State didn't look like they did against like an LSU, and they kind of Clemson was doing what they wanted to for an early part of that game, and then finally Jordan Travis got things rolling, they were able to score. But obviously, to me, the biggest play of the game was the Deloach fumble 6. Like Clemson had just kind of took the lead. They had a big run, and then boom, he comes free as a bird and just, I'm talking about helmet on ball, ball out, scoops it up, scores. You're talking about a potential 14-point play swing there where, Clemson could have went up 2 scores, and
Yeah.
instead you got a tie ball game. It's a whole brand new ball game, and then it's Florida State had a lot of confidence going in, but I mean Clemson still hung in, and they took it to overtime. They missed a field goal late that could have put them up.
You know what else was huge for Florida State? That last drive before the first half ended.
Yeah, before they get a score
to make it 17-14. That was huge. I mean, Jordan Travis took the team down the field and got those points on the board. Was huge. I think they got a ball back with like a little over 2 minutes, and they were able to drive down and score with, I think it was like 30 seconds left in the half. But like,
they went on a 5-play 75, a quick drive, 5-play 75 yards, and it took 2 minutes, and they scored 2-minute drive, and they scored with 22 seconds before the half, which was, like you say, was huge to give them. Instead of being down 10, you're down a field goal.
Because being down 10 going into the second half, that Deloach play was huge, but
right.
I mean, if you're down 10 and you don't get a score on that first drive, like you said, as much as Clemson was moving up and down the field, that like you say, that was huge, and then Deloach play was huge. And the one criticism I do have for Florida State is I'm tired of seeing them running Benson like horizontal, like sideline to sideline. Like, you need to get him up the field. And the other thing I noticed was the offensive line. Whenever they would pull their offensive line, it's like those guys were like bubbling back, if that makes any sense. So like the line of scrimmage, they were going backwards like half a yard and then going up. And Clemson's defensive line, you could do that against lesser opponents, but I thought Clemson's defensive line did a good job of getting into the first offensive lineman and kind of clogging everything up and allowing everybody else to swarm to the ball to get the Florida State running backs. And you notice once they were just letting Benson run up down the field vertically, he was getting yards, and he had 2 huge catches on 2 wheel routes that were big.
No, he definitely was a factor in the passing game. Well, I guess my biggest criticism, or lack thereof, or problem, was the fact that they couldn't run the ball, and they didn't necessarily try.
That's why
I mean,
they couldn't get down the field.
20 carries total for all the backs for Florida State for 22 yards.
Yeah,
Benson had 7 carries for 25, but he did have the 3 catches for 50 yards, and the long one that he had for the 29 1 yard.
I mean, I guess you got to give Clemson's defense credit, but their front four did a fantastic job of just, as they would say in football, wrong arming the guard that's coming at him, or the tackle, and just clogging everything up. And then you see Benson's getting, behind the line, like 3 yards, getting stopped. He can't get his momentum going. But anytime they did try to run straight ahead, he was able to get 3, 4, 5 yards of carry. And that's huge when you can't, if that's the offense they want to play. And then even when they were pulling the guard and tackle on Jordan Travis, rollouts and stuff, they were leaving lanes for guys to get in there. And I mean, the scariest thing I think I told you guys in our group text was just the hits Jordan Travis was taking.
Yeah, no,
you don't want that.
You got to keep him healthy for sure. Like I say, I think too, the other takeaway I take from it is Clemson looked pretty damn good too.
They really did.
Don't take it like Florida. That's how good Florida State is. They played. Who cares about the stats? Who cares that you only rushed for 22 yards? You did what you needed to do. You made the plays when you need to play. You got out of there with a win. But going back and thinking about Clemson is, I know Dabo said it, and like we always say, too bad, so sad. They're a couple plays away from, being 4-0 and being one of the top teams. You didn't make the plays you needed to make, whatever. But the killer for Clemson right now, and this was the other stat that he had, in their 4 ball games they've played, like points off turnovers that they've given up off of fumble sixes and all that, is like 36 points in the first 4 games. Last year, out of all 12, was like 38. So they've already reached their maximum amount of points given up off turnover.
That's huge.
Like I say, you can't. I don't care what game you're playing, you cannot turn the football over, especially in a closely, when you got the same guys, same personnel teams that are just evenly matched. Turnovers is always your equalizer. I don't care if you're playing high school. I don't care if you're playing in the NFL. You cannot turn the ball over. You got to take care of the ball, and especially when you go for points.
You know what was weird? Like I said, I watched a condensed version of the game. That play on their last drive where they were set with the missed field goal to win, to possibly win the game.
Yeah,
I think it was 2nd and 1, and Klubnik didn't hand the ball off, and he threw it out to the receiver, and Florida State was all over it. And I'm sitting there like, just hand it to Shipley. He's gonna get the first down.
Right.
because you got to believe in that offensive line. They
You
get
know
the
what?
first
And
down.
Dabo, I remember that play now that you said that. And because Ricky was over here watching it, and Klubnik basically that was his call. And
It
Dabo was
was the
like,
wrong call.
what are you almost like, what are you doing, man? Like
You hand it off. I don't
we
even if
just
they stuff it, you hand it off.
exactly because that could have been a disastrous play. I think they might have lost yards on that play. It was just
They
a
did. They did.
combination of
They
just
lost a
bad,
yard.
you pick up the first down there, and you maybe can run them a little bit more clock, pick up a little bit more yards, make that field goal a little more manageable, and
Yeah.
instead you don't. And again, credit to Florida State. They made the plays when they had to. And, now Florida State looks like they're in the driver's seat for the ACC. We've got the
sure.
game. We've got the game circled that look like they're going to be problematic. And to me, it's a 3-game schedule going forward. And that's
Mm-hmm.
Duke, Miami, and Florida on the road, so if
Yeah.
they can, navigate through, Lane Stadium, or they don't even play, they play all their games are at home now. It seems like too. They play Syracuse and Virginia Tech next to. They should wax those two teams. And like I say, now let's see how good Duke is. Let's see where Miami goes. Like that
Mhm.
Miami Florida State game potentially looks like a old school Florida State,
Hold on.
Miami
Let's
rivalry.
let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
We're not going to get too far ahead, but that game looks
let's
sexy. That looks like a
get
sexy matchup, and I can't wait
yes,
for it.
week 5 it does, but we got to get through. We got to get through a couple ACC opponents first.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, no, like I say, Florida State big win. Definitely
Huge
finally
win.
got the monkey off their back, knocking off Clemson and Dabo. Yeah. And so, like I say, we'll see. They're on a bye this week, so we don't really have to talk about them before they take on, like I say, Syracuse and B-Tech or whatever. So,
how about that catch by Keon Coleman?
Yeah, how about that catch by my boy Johnny Wilson on the sideline on that one? Where
that's the only thing he did all game. He's just big to be big. He's
big to be big, baby.
I think he's a good receiver, but you know how I feel about him.
I know you guys don't like him.
250. He should be dominant.
I don't disagree. Like I say, I think he's a good compliment. I think he's a good compliment to. Yeah, he makes like the spectacular catches and drops some of the easiest ones. But I think by him being out there is what helps Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell. Like you can't just basically be like, well, because you can't just be like, oh, we'll just worry about Johnny. We won't worry about Johnny Wilson because he's going to drop half of his balls. Go ahead and do that, and Johnny Wilson will burn you. So like I say, they've got a good problem.
You by any chance go back and watch that first touchdown they scored out of that Florida State out of that bunch set?
No, I don't remember.
Go back and watch that.
It was nice. It was a nice play.
It was a very nice play. It was it made it look like a screen where Coleman kind of stepped back, and then Bell was on the inside. Coleman was in.
Oh yeah. No. I do. Yes, it was a fake screen and go.
Yeah, that was nice.
No, it was very nice. That was I like that scheme for sure. Like it was.
Yeah, they had everyone confused.
Yeah, no, because Keon, they both blocked out like they were running the screen. Keon popped out like he was running the zero screen, and then just jumped, out of there.
Hook route, yeah.
It basically just curled up in the end zone. Nobody was there. That was easy throw. And that was definitely that's like an old like screen and go style play, but it was a different variation of it. But it was
very different.
Definitely dialed it up. It was pretty nice by Norvell.
Yeah.
I have to give him credit on that. All right, so let's talk about your boys, the Miami Hurricanes, taking on the Temple Owls, and it was like more of what we thought it was going to be. Blowout. You guys take care of business. Tyler Van Dyne's throwing 3 more touchdowns, and he's been balling. And like I say, no big deal here. Just same old same. You guys rushed for a ton and put up a big number.
45 carries, 323 yards.
Hell yeah.
That was Henry Parrish, 139 yards rushing, 2 TDs. We did what I thought we would do, just going off the beginning of the season. Offensive line pretty much dominated, and TBD, we threw the ball. We didn't have to, but it was great to see them getting guys, Restrepo and Young and those guys in the passing game. What I'm curious to see going forward is getting the tight ends involved. Arroyo hasn't played yet, but I want to get the tight ends more involved in the offense. But going back to this game, the defense still flying to the ball, being physical. Those guys are just trying to knock people out. Only criticism I have about the defense so far, we're gonna see this going forward. Teams are gonna take advantage of them when they're motioning and flipping guys on the outside. There's still a little confusion in the secondary and the linebackers of who covers who. Temple only had 2 big plays, really, one before the half, and you could just see the guys were still that's happened in the first 4 games so far, where they'll give up a play or two, where they're just confused on exchanging route runners. But other than that, it was they dominated the game like you said, like they were supposed to, and they got a Philly with a win in the rain.
No, like I say, I got a stat for you here. Miami last year ranked 89th in yards per play.
Yep.
You know what they're ranked this year?
I know they're top 10, top 15 offensively and defensively.
They're ranked 3rd.
It goes to show you how important the offensive line is.
Exactly. Then Tyler Van Dyke went from 70th QBR to QB whatever ranking y'all you want to do.
He's throwing more touchdowns
the number 4
last season.
Yeah, to number 4.
Yeah, it having a good
not only your
caller.
I was about to say, all credit to Shannon Dawson. Dude is killing it. Like that's a hell of a hire.
Well,
I love it.
What I'm curious is the evolution of the offense. When we're talking, we've run a lot of screens so far this season, and going back to that play Florida State had for that first touchdown, I'm going to expect more of that, like that type of thing going forward with the Miami offense and seeing like how the passing game evolves. Because the first 3 of the 4 games, the passing game's been easy. It's just you have better guys than their DBs, and the Texas A&M game showed me a lot that hey, he's going to go vertical, and like we talked about the other week in his press conference, he's like,
"Let's take shots, baby."
That's what you like. I know you like that, being aggressive.
No, I mean, but the good part about it is, I think the balance that he's found, where Tyler Van Dyke is throwing the ball well, but guess what? They're still running for 300 yards a game or 250 a game. You're finding some balance to be able to run and pass.
That's what Mario wants.
Yeah, the best offense is when you can be balanced to keep a defense, off schedule and on their toes and not know what's coming. And they're just in a bind, all that good stuff. So like I feel like Shannon Dawson's play calling has been good, and again, now we're gonna, like you just said, you don't want to look ahead too far to Florida State. You still got 2 big ones, coming out of the bye after the Georgia Tech game. So it literally, like we said, 1 game at a time type mentality. You get a bye week this week, and then you get Georgia Tech.
Get healthy. I don't know the stat. They haven't really released anything on Cam Kitchens, but the rest of the season is going to be huge. Hopefully, Mesidor and Dean, two starting defensive linemen, get back healthy. Parrish got hurt a bit at the end of the game. I think he got just wind knocked out of him, but I couldn't really tell. Then Mark Fletcher was a little banged up. So getting key guys back for the start of the ACC is going to be huge. So, but as long as the offensive line is doing what they've been doing so far this season, I like our chances. TVD's been, efficient, but we got a stable of backs. And then, like I say, Don Chaney, he started the game and he just looks like a monster out there, just trying to run the ball and run over people. With him, Parrish, and you got Fletcher, and then AJ Allen. Yeah, I mean, he didn't even play. Right. So they've created great competition down there in Coral Gables that I like. And then, like I said, defensively, they're just flying to the ball and trying to knock people out.
Yeah. No, like I said, big win for the Canes, easy win for the Canes.
Easy win. I wouldn't say big win.
Yeah, not big
win is a win, though.
Yeah, a big win and a big number. That's, I guess, what I'll say. They handle business like they're supposed to. So, obviously, Florida State and Miami both on buys this week to get rested and healthy. I don't know how you feel about the early season bye. It is what it is. So, you just got to – after this, you're on the grinder, baby. It's go time. So
adapt and overcome.
Exactly.
That's all you can do.
Obviously, the other game is the other Florida team, the Gators, the mighty scoring Gators, the lighting the scoreboard up Florida Gators. All the momentum you had coming off the Tennessee win and all the feel good, you just like, here we go again. It's like watching the damn Jaguars. You expect so much. You expect so much from Florida. You get that expectation. You get the little bit of confidence, and then you come out offensively and just look like doo-doo, pure crap. They couldn't. They look so out of sync sometimes, so out of rhythm. And here, the sad part was the game couldn't have went more perfect to start. You get a quick 3-and-out turnover, and then boom, you go right down the field and score with ease. You got a little bit of mix of run and pass. You're thinking, all right, 7-0 in the first couple minutes of this game. This is going to go according to plan. We're going to blow them out. And then it just went like downhill after that, where you move the ball kind of up and down the field a bit, but you couldn't ever establish the run game. And then you kick 5 field goals, man. And it's just like, it's disappointing. Like, cause you're just like, what do we got to do to get this offense like in some sort of rhythm? And like I say, that it just, again, it goes down to the number one thing, consistency, man. And if you can't be consistent, you're going to be in trouble when it comes to, better competition, bigger games, a tighter game. When you're inconsistent, you're going to lose. So, like I say, I was very unimpressed with the offense, very unbeloved to what I saw Saturday night in the Swamp. And, yeah, sure, a win is a win, but it was ugly. If you could have made a couple of those field goals, touchdowns, yeah, you win 42-7. Sure, that's great, but you didn't. I think my biggest problem is the way you distributed the run game. Like we all know Trevor Etienne, I feel like, is the main back, and he only got 8 carries in the game. That's got to change.
I'm gonna tell you what my notes said before rewatching the game. 15 question marks, 5 field goals. That's what I have in my notes. And then I was like, let me rewatch the condensed version of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, you guys were able to move the ball between the 20s. And then when you got in the red zone, some of the play calling, it was kind of head scratchers. And you're like, why are we throwing the ball? Why, like you say, Trevor Etienne and, that big offensive line, you would think you should be able to push them.
Yeah,
then,
we were out. Guakin was out again at center. George was out, and Mizuka was out for the suspension for the first half. So
but you still want to say
three offensive linemen. You still got to. We're an SEC line.
Yes,
you still got to be able to run the ball, and hell, they even had trouble. Mertz
pass
even protection wise.
Yeah,
I like I say, the flip side of all that too is Mertz is giving you everything. Like, dude went 20 for 23.
Yeah,
3 balls hit the ground. The problem, we don't have anything where we're stretching nothing down the field. And it's not like I don't know if we can't do it.
I don't think you guys have a game breaker. I
don't
really
know.
don't. I really don't.
We don't even do it to show it. Like show it.
I mean, they tried to get Andy Jean. They tried to get Andy Jean in the game, and
they put him in the game just to run a reverse and stuff. But I'm talking about throw a ball downfield, throw it downfield.
I agree.
I forget who it was. That was it. The Florida State game. Going back to the Florida State game. If you go back and look, do you know how many plays they threw over 20 yards in that game? I think it was like 9. They threw Jordan Travis threw the ball deep. And all that does, it just basically puts a check on your corners to be like, damn, these boys are going to throw this thing over the top of my.
Well, remember that was my complaint last year with Miami. They didn't throw the ball down the field, and teams were playing their safeties down.
Just at least do it. It's better than running for 1 yard, no yards, 2 yards, 3 yards. Or throwing a quick screen, it's just, I don't know if.
Where's the disconnect?
I don't know if Billy's scared to do it because he thinks Mertz can't do it. But my thing is,
this is the game to do it.
Exactly, just throw the damn thing down the field.
This is the game. The defense played great. The defense.
Yeah,
you guys ranked top 10 nationally.
Yes, our defense has been balling.
But this is even if you say we're not going to do it at our own 20, once you get to the 50, you can say, even if they pick it off, our defense is, we flip the field position, whatever. But to come out of that game with 5 field goals, like I said, I just watched, and I was just sitting there watching it, okay.
Yeah, like I say, Mertz has been majorly efficient this year, and that's good. Who cares about efficiency if you're not taking shots and loosening up the defense to help your run game.
Especially when you're playing better.
You got to do so much
the rest of the year.
Billy's got to do so much run game scheme, which I love his run game scheme. Go back to the Tennessee game. And I still think he probably kept it a little bit vanilla without some new stuff for Kentucky. But, still, I guess you just feel like, okay, we're better up front. We should be able to move you guys. We should be able to create these holes.
But these are the games you work on that stuff.
No, I agree. I mean, you don't want to show too much, but this is where you just say, hell, my nuts are bigger than yours. We're going to move you. And it obviously didn't work out too well because, to rush the ball for only 136 yards after you ran it all up and down Tennessee's throat. You're telling me Charlotte, their defense is better than Tennessee's? No way. So
I mean, It couldn't be any worse than Tennessee's.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what Tennessee's got.
Outside of the
But
5 field goals, what a hell of a catch by Pearsall. That's
yeah,
all I
no,
got.
that was the definite, end all be all. Pearsall makes the heck of a, the one-handed grab, and well, that was literally, they get that play, and then they get a 15-yarder tacked onto that, and they still can't score. They had to settle for 3 right there. So like,
it makes no sense. Like I say, just watching you guys, it
just,
makes no sense. And I think going back to the Tennessee game, it's the fact that you guys jumped on them so fast.
No,
and,
for sure.
and Billy, you just run the ball the rest of the way and just let the clock bleed.
That's basically what he did in the second half.
He sucked the air out of the ball.
He even said he got way too conservative. We're in like 6 plays in the second half, so
I mean, you don't mind that in that type of game, but what I'm saying is your offense isn't evolving.
No, exactly. And the biggest thing too is you're stressing your defense more too to continue to bail you out. And so like the problem with that always goes to is that means you got to play perfect. You can't turn the ball over. No. You have your margin for error is like 0. It's slim. So if you're in a big game like a Kentucky on the road or playing Georgia down the line or whoever, at South Carolina, those games you're going to have to be able to not put so much pressure on your defense to always continuously stop guys. Well, the good thing is I think the defense is going to travel, and I think the defense is going to play well and keep us in those games. But we got to get something going on offense.
But I think you guys got bailed out. You got bailed out too. They were able to move the ball a little bit, and then they'll have a stupid holding penalty or a legal man down the field penalty or just a personal foul. So it was like Charlotte was able to move the ball a little bit. I'm not calling them world beaters in the defense. I thought the Florida defense played pretty good, but there were some times where you could just tell like the defense was just worn out because how many plays did Charlotte run? Probably 60.
About they rushed for 78 yards and they threw it for 133 yards.
But I mean, like play number.
Yeah, they ran 29. They rushed the ball 29 times and they threw it 25 times, so about 60, close to it.
And that's a lot against a team like Charlotte, where you're supposed to be like, we're just going to dominate this game. And like I say, it's talking to Gator fans before the game, and I'm just they're like thinking top king in the world. I'm like, but you guys haven't really done anything to impress anyone, in my opinion. And of course they're going to be, oh, you're just hating, you're just this and that. Like, if you've watched the games, you can sit there and see like something's missing. Something is missing. I can't put my finger on it because, like you say, you can move the ball between the 20s, but I need you guys to get in the end zone. 5 field goals isn't going to beat. They're not kicking 5 field goals or Georgia or Florida State or whoever else they got to play.
No.
It's got to be concerning. But we'll see this week.
Yeah, no, like I say, this week, you're going to find out for sure what they're made of, But we'll get on the preview of the Florida Kentucky game here in a second. Let's finish up going over some of the national big games that was last weekend on that heavy slate of like the national style. Obviously, the first one, the big headliner was the night game with the Ohio State Buckeyes going into Notre Dame and beating the boys on the last second touchdown run with 10 guys on the field. But I thought I thought it was a hell of a game. It wasn't the sexiest game. It was kind of old school defense, big plays here, big plays there, big stops, but I thought the game was fun. The crowd was electric there at Notre Dame. Ohio State looked good. But I think both teams look really good, in my opinion. I feel like they're obviously, some new parts on both teams, but I feel like both teams are going to be a force with the rest of this season as the schedule goes on. I like both of those squads. And like I say, it was a hell of a win for Ohio State to go in there and win when they were down late. But like I say, what was your big takeaway from the Buckeyes and Fighting Irish?
Still not sold on the Ohio State quarterback. I am not sold on that kid.
I thought McCord played pretty good. I thought he played pretty good going into a hostile environment like that with Notre Dame, looking good on defense. Notre Dame been good defensively.
Yeah.
He made the plays when he needed to make the throws. He did, and inconsistently.
Third and 18, and they leave.
Yeah, that's your buddy Al Golden. That's your buddy Al Golden, man.
Oh God, I forgot about that guy. Hope he wore his tie up there. Never mind. But yeah, that game, I just It was a lot of questionable coaching by both sides earlier in the game, where it's what 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and you do a fly sweep with Mbuka, and you get stuff on 4th. They went for it on 4th and 2. Remember when we
Yeah,
were like, "What the
that
hell
was late.
happened?"
That was late in the game.
No, no,
They
no.
were
Earlier. This was earlier in the game
no
where
the Egbuka sweep was the 4th and 2 on with the last 5 minutes. So
well,
they
they
either did
ran
it.
it. Well, no, they ran it earlier in the game and they
All right.
didn't
Well,
get it.
I'm talking about the 4th down.
No, no, no. I know what you're. I know which play you're talking about. But they did it earlier where they left points on the board. And like you said, it was a slugfest. Notre Dame gets the ball back with like 3 minutes left to ice the game, and you run the ball on first down. I think they ran the screen on second down that was almost picked off, and then you threw it again. So you basically didn't make Ohio State use their 2 timeouts and burn any clock, and you gave them the ball back. And then you let them drive down the field. You get them in the 3rd and 18, and you play a cover 2 zone, buzzing the guys underneath, but Mbuka is wide open to get the ball at the 1, and then you run back-to-back plays with 10 guys. That's coaching.
Yeah, no, like I say,
All of that is you, Freeman, and the coaching staff caused those kids to lose that game that they should have won.
Yeah, franticness and all that, just the big, it's chaos when it gets come down at that time in the game, like on the sidelines. I've been a part of some of those like high school games where it's like, you're like scrambling and it's crazy, but that's why you have 20 guys on staff and you got this guy who does this and this guy, and you make sure if you're
for everything.
Yeah, you make sure you're subbing guys in and out, and it's the proper sub, and all that. Like I said,
Sponge, it was 2 plays in a row they had 10 guys.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's bad. That is bad. My thing too is like, hell, this goes back to like my situational awareness with the freaking players. Like, if you're a damn D tackle and you see like there's supposed to be an end next to me, what's going on over here? You just got my hand in the dirt, ready to go. Like what? Like, hey, we're missing one over here. Or
take the timeout and take the
penalty. I don't even remember that time if they had timeouts. But like,
does it matter?
No. If they didn't, then obviously they couldn't call one. I don't know if they did or didn't. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember. But like I say, that's where, if you're a damn veteran player and you realize that somebody's supposed to be next to you and he's not, like, what are you doing? Like, you're just that zoned in on
what
like
is the linebacker doing?
Exactly. Linebackers lining up, looking at, everything. It's like, whoa. We ain't got enough. We got to call timeout.
2 plays in a row. I get one play, but not 2.
It's definitely that's definitely on the coach's fault. But again, this goes back to where we blame the coaches too much on some stuff too, to where you got to have some sort of
for sure.
Going back to the heels on the 10. Like, don't be a freaking idiot. We told you put your heels at the 10, and you continue to not do it.
I agree.
But again, like I say, the big deal with it is you basically left them in the game. You didn't execute on defense when you needed to make the stop. Like I say, credit to Ohio State. They made those plays, They
made those plays.
And like I say, I think what I take away too is I think Ohio State's defense, I said this way back when I picked them to win the Big Ten, is I think this is one of their better defenses that they've had. They've got a lot of guys back.
Yeah.
And, they did a pretty good job. Like, Estime still got some, some big yards on the ground. They held Sam Hartman to, only 175 yards passing. I think McCord, like I say, McCord definitely, didn't play great, but I think he played well enough. And hell, this is only his 4th start, on the road in the top 10 game. He's still learning. He's still, getting his feet wet. But I think the weapons he has around him, the crazy part is, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been absent. Like, and I don't understand.
My point exactly.
So that's McCord. That's McCord's fault.
That it's on him and the coaches. You got one of the best receivers you've had possibly ever at that school. We could argue and say he's probably the best. You got Mbuka, who's a good receiver. Julian Fleming.
Emeka is a beast. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So like,
you got Julian Fleming.
He's just getting off because of Marvin Harrison.
And then you got Cade Stover at tight end.
I know.
Don't sit here and tell me that, they just had a bad game against Notre Dame. It's been the whole damn season.
No. You better go back and look at the stats. Like, Ohio State they blitzed everybody. You're thinking back to the Indiana game, where they had a little bit of struggles in the first game of the season.
I'm talking about the quarterback. I'm not sold on the quarterback.
I know you're not sold on him. I'm saying I'm not sold on him yet, but I think he has the potential to be
why Harrison shouldn't have 12 targets a game. Minimum.
Yeah.
I think the other thing,
I don't
the other
understand
thing,
why. I don't understand why he's like been a zero non-factor
well, the
pretty much
other
all year.
thing, they don't move him around. They keep him kind of stagnant. And the first half of that Notre Dame game, they basically doubled him. So you're not moving him to get away from the double teams.
Right, and
It's
that's
kind
where
it's kind of like what the Bengals did with Chase during the
and
season.
that's where Mecca is, basically taking a lot of those, reps and balls and
For
getting that,
sure. But
but
I just think they got too many talents for you to sit there and just be like, oh,
yeah, I mean, I
one
guess going back, I guess obviously Western Kentucky Marvin had 5 catches for 126 and a touchdown. McCord went 19 to 23 for 318
I
and 3
promise you,
TDs. Western Kentucky.
most of those catches were from Julian Fleming and Cade Stover.
In which game?
Pick one.
Yeah, the Western Kentucky, Marvin Harrison was the leading receiver.
Okay, that game. So the next game, it was either the game before or after, where he pretty much just dumped it down to Fleming running crossing routes.
They played freaking Youngstown in a boring ass game. That was Marvin Harrison, leading receiver again, 2 weeks in a row.
I just feel like they don't get him the ball.
Well, I was just saying he was the leading receiver. Let me go back to the Indiana game because basically Notre Dame must have did a hell of a job. Then I guess is what basically we need to get at.
They doubled him.
Marvin Harrison he only had 2 catches in that first game against Indiana. So like that was when that was when they played both quarterbacks a little bit. They were trying to get brand new offense, all that. The Indiana game was definitely a lackluster performance,
Right.
But
and then the Western Kentucky game, I think he had all of that. He had 100 yards at the half.
Yeah, yeah.
One of them was a big play.
Well, they probably didn't even play the second half because they were up 50 to 10.
Probably. But I'm just not sold on the quarterbacks.
I know. I'm trying to tell you I am. I think he's going to be good because here's the thing: they don't play anybody else but Penn State and Michigan. So
that's true.
When they play those teams, we'll see who's the better quarterback. JJ McCarthy, is it going to be my boy Drew Aller? You don't like Drew Aller either, so I guess you'll have to pick between Drew Aller and Kyle McCord when they play each other.
Supposedly, JJ gave a Tim Tebow-esque speech after the game, I guess, after getting waxed.
Dude,
and they went up to one of the kids and was like, "What'd you think about the Tim Tebow-esque speech?" And he was like, "Who's Tim Tebow? What speech are you talking about?"
I didn't even hear that.
I thought that was a good laugh. Yeah. I thought that was a good laugh. I'm like, that tells you where these kids don't even give a damn.
No, I
know
anything
in the last 15 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, to wrap this up, I think the other thing that like just bothered the hell out of me was at the end of the game, we got Ryan Day out there getting mad at Lou Holtz, who's like damn near 100 because who did he think Lou Holtz was going to pick to win the game? He was never ever going to say Ohio State.
And really and truly, what Lou said was, hey, he just feels like your team's not physical, and that's why you lost to Michigan 2 years in a row. Because guess what?
And guess what?
It's true.
He was almost right.
You got out physicaled in the games against Michigan, and guess what? Notre Dame brought some physicality to that game, and they played.
If it wasn't for bad coaching, the game's over.
Back to Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame brought the physicalness to that game.
Exactly.
I think they did a hell of a job. And sure, Ryan Day gets fired up about somebody talking trash about his team, whatever.
I get it. That's coach speak, but an 80-year-old man really got you worked up. I really thought Lou was almost 100, but
he's 86, baby. 86. Old Lou Holtz. Yeah, no, like I say, it is what it is with that whole thing. We're about to talk about the next game, the same thing about us talking about, coaches and firing up speeches and, prime time.
That had nothing to do with this game.
Obviously we're moving on to the Oregon blowout of Colorado, which the game went according to how I thought it would go. Yeah, I thought Colorado might put up a little bit more points than they did, obviously, but they ran into a complete freaking buzzsaw. Oregon was on a mission from the minute the game kicked off. And like I say, going back to the whole coach speak of Dan Lanning, this is what trips me out. They say that, I know Ryan Clark said it, that basically Dan Lanning did the same thing for clicks. It's like, no, man. He's just doing it to motivate his team right now. He can say whatever he wants. He's been in plenty of locker rooms. We've all been in plenty of locker rooms where things get said. He never said anything about Deion. He never said anything about Colorado. He's just trying to motivate his team. And the biggest thing I take is everybody now has all these videographers and cell phones. Nobody's doing it for clicks. It's just now. It's just out and about. It's like,
well, remember the
this
Kirby
is the
speech
new
from
age.
last
This
season?
is the new age of college football. The new age of just whatever.
The Kirby rant before
Right.
one of the games that should have never got out.
Yeah.
But it got out.
What I don't like is if you don't have the cameras in there. So if you don't invite the cameras in, and that comes from either a player or a staffer, that's where it's like, if you want this thing closed door, you can have it closed door. If you want a camera in there, you can. Everybody's filming everything, making all these cinematic videos for the game. You want to watch the cinematic review of the game? Sure. They're sweet. Yeah. They're fired up. I love these video teams. They're like, they make some awesome video. They do a hell of a job. And guess what? It's for marketing. It's for marketing your program, marketing your coaching, marketing your players, get dudes, all that. And like, everybody goes and looks at the videos. They're like, man, these things are sweet. Like, look at this, look at me. It's on social media everywhere. And I just feel like somewhere that gets blurred and gets lost because we think about that stuff too much. But I mean,
you shouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah, you should be talking about basically your offense couldn't block Oregon and you couldn't throw or run or do anything.
This game is the epitome of why I stopped talking football with people who don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing against people, but I keep telling people, if you don't have an offensive line or a defensive line to stop the team from getting to your quarterback and getting to the quarterback, I don't care if you have Tom Brady in the back.
You ain't winning big boy football.
Dude, the whole game, Oregon, I don't even think Oregon blitzed. It didn't even seem like they blitzed. No, they ran a four linemen.
Yeah, they got back there. They got back there with their front four.
Their front four got to the back, and they had 7 guys to protect. And then on the flip side, Shiloh's in the hospital. You know why he's in the hospital? Because those Oregon offensive linemen were getting to the second and third level and being physical. They blocked the front line of Colorado, who's undersized. As much as, in the video, they were like, oh, you guys are small, whatever. They were able to run the football, be physical, and beat up that Colorado defense. Yeah. And for everyone out there that's surprised about the outcome of this game, shows that you don't understand football.
Yeah, no,
in my opinion,
100% agree. Like,
what they're doing in Colorado is great, and he's a year or two away. I'm not knocking them. They have a bunch of skill guys. They don't have the lines of scrimmage. So anyone that thought that they were going to go in there and win that game with a better offensive defensive line that Oregon has, I think people are just crazy.
Well, that's primarily why they were only picked to win 3 games to begin with, because they knew the Pac-12 was a lot better this year. And guess what? They're about to run into all these teams who have more physical, more bigger, and better offensive lines. So this is where we're really going to tell whether or not Colorado goes 3-9 or they win 6-7 games, which I think they're still capable of doing that.
6.
I think they're still 5 or 6. Yeah, I definitely think they're still capable of doing that for sure, just because of the offense. But they can't run the ball and they can't protect. So when they play these faster defenses, and then the problem with the Pac-12 is you're playing these high-flying, high-powered offenses that can score. So, put it this way. You're not going to get in that track meet like you did week 1 against TCU. No. It ain't going to happen. So if for everybody, I think that's what everybody thought was going to happen this week against Oregon, was they thought that they played TCU tough. Watch, they're going to be able to score 42, and okay, Oregon might score 45, but
it ain't 7-on-7.
Yeah, it's like Oregon, Bo Nix, and those boys. They were like a well-oiled machine up and down the field. Lanning called the perfect, fake punt to set them up for that third touchdown to go up 21. And I mean, it was just like looking at the drive charts of just like 3 plays and out, 4 plays and out, 3 plays and out, 3 plays and out, punt. And you're just like, man, Colorado looks bad. And so Oregon
they just don't have the guys yet.
Well, then here's the other thing too, that this is what nobody's talking about. I mean, I've heard a few people talking about it this week is, hell yeah, Deion did a hell of a job in the portal. Got a ton of skill guys, all that, right? Well, we always talk about you really build the program through recruiting and recruiting and developing and getting talent that way. So you have a long stay of like a 4-year guy versus a one-hit wonder. You may get a one-hit bust, all that stuff. And so I think it's more difficult. And you agree with me or not? Do you think it's more difficult to get offensive linemen in the portal versus getting a receiver, a skill, a DB or something? I feel like there's more DBs, receivers,
Mm-hmm.
maybe linebackers, those type of players, quarterbacks in the portal, than finding like that gem of an offensive lineman to come to you. So
But
I feel like
even if you got an Orlando Pace out of the portal
yeah,
and you put him at left tackle for
that's just
Colorado,
one guy.
that's just one guy.
Yeah.
You need 5 of those guys.
Yeah.
And not just that, the biggest thing with offensive line is communication and knowing what the guy next to you is going to do. It's called reps. Just getting more reps when they're doing those stunts and twists and all of that. If I know that, if I'm next to a guy, I just bump him enough, he knows to bump off to get the circling defensive end, and I take the defensive tackle.
Yeah. No, well, that's
but when you don't have the dudes
no
up front, it doesn't matter what you try to do. You got to have the guys up front, and I think he's going to get guys in the portal.
Well, so,
he's going to get younger guys. But
all right, so here's the big thing I was going to say. This is going back on this. You know where Colorado ranks in recruiting the 2024 cycle right now?
Probably in the 50s.
75.
I believe it.
And
I think he's going to build off of the transfer portal.
That's what I'm saying. So you're going to have to hit hard on that offensive line, defensive line, which could be a lot harder than whatever. But he's also got to start recruiting. Now he better. Yeah. I think what everybody's expecting, he's going to close well in this 2024 class
for sure.
But that's still left to be seen. You're 75th. Can you get in the top 25? Can you bump 50 spots up with getting dudes? He's already got drama with Cormani McLean going on now. That was great yesterday. Did you see that? Did you see that bit?
Mm-hmm.
They're asking about why is the 5-star not playing? Because he ain't ready, or he's not studying. He's not doing what we want him to do. He's like, I'm old school, baby. You don't just come in here because you're a 5-star. I'm gonna put you out on the field. So I like that mentality with it. But where's that going to go on recruits? Or recruits going to be like, man, I love Deion, but he's not even letting the 5-star play. He's not going to let me play. These kids are soft mentally, and they egos get in check, and like all of a sudden they be like, I'm leaving, I'm transferring out of here. Well, so I think he's got to obviously hit the portal with a collection of getting a top flight recruits coming in, which I think he's obviously more than well and capable of doing. But for people to think, this is the other thing too, if Shedeur comes back, he's got to have a quarterback the following year. So like you got to hit like their window of, if they think they want to be a playoff contender, is like next year, and then it's like it's still in the process of a rebuild. It takes 2 to 3 to 4 years to build a program the right way. Yes, he flipped it from a 1-win team to now they've got 3, and they look like they're on the ascension. But it does not happen overnight. And like people just they freaked out because they won 3 games. Right. You think about when Urban took over at Florida, and how first year, like think about Ron Zook. He recruited the hell out of that team, right? Mm-hmm. We had a lot of good players in stocks. So when Urban got there, went through that first year of winning some games, the next thing you know, ascension up. We got a lot of studs, another big recruiting class. It was easy. You think about them at Ohio State. Like those are well-established places with dudes already. Colorado didn't have shit. He went and changed it and got some players in there. So like I say, it's a whole interesting thing. And like,
it's going to take time.
Yeah. But the national pundits, all they want to do is talk about it, and you can't talk bad about Colorado. A coach can't talk bad about them. So it's like, I don't know how you talk about them. And
like the whole, coaches are in for them. So they gave Oregon.
They're giving them plays and signals, and
they don't have an offensive defensive line.
Watch tape, man. Watch tape.
Yes, it just drives me nuts, man. Week in and week out, and people are like, "Oh, what's wrong with Joe Burrow? Oh, what's going on with Daniel Jones?" You go down the list, and I'm like, I got a secret. The offensive line is terrible. They can't block anyone. If you can't block anyone, you can't expect your quarterback to be successful.
It's exactly what I was, I do the varsity podcast with Justin Barney on Channel 4 with the high school podcast. He was, asking me, he's like, what's going on with Trinity? What's the problem? What's going on? I'm like, you got an LSU quarterback commit, you got some good receivers, you got a great running back. I'm like, their O-line is having big, major struggles protecting. And guess what? That creates turnovers. That creates quarterback not getting the right stop, the right drop, progressions not being like it's simple football. If you can't protect,
that's all it is.
You ain't winning. Like you said, I don't care if they had Tom Brady back there.
Yeah, Well, and it goes to
Tom
show
Brady's
you,
losing that game to Oregon on Saturday.
well, and it goes to show you, like, you need 5 on the defense. You could get away with one dominant guy on the
Right.
defensive line. I mean, hell, did you see the play with Myles Garrett where
Yeah.
he's just walking back and across the line of scrimmage, and they're moving the 2 guys, and they're just finally like, we got to call timeout.
Yeah.
Because he's just moving around because he's a dominant guy. So on the defensive line, you could have a dominant guy. On the offensive line, you just can't have one guy, because I'm going to sit there and be like, well, why would I put my best defender against your best offensive lineman? I'll put him on the right tackle and just let him come off the edge. So I think they're going to be fine. Skipping ahead to this week, they're going to score more than 6 points, but they're still going to lose to USC.
Yeah.
No surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone.
We'll give a quick breakdown on that one. The last other game that was obviously the big one was Bama finally, righting the ship, looking a little bit better on offense, a little shaky, ugly game. Still, it was kind of a boring game in my opinion, but
it was.
I think defensively Bama played like Bama. They gave Ole Miss a lot of problems. They gave Ole Miss a lot of fits. Definitely you could see that Milroe does give you the best chance at quarterback. I mean, they could have. He made a bonehead interception in the end zone in the red zone, which was bad. They could have added to that lead. But I think Bama was Bama, and this is going back to what I was saying. I love Lane, but I'm not a believer sometimes when it comes to Ole Miss and winning big games and stuff.
If not win, and the reason why I picked Ole Miss, I just felt like the quarterback situation with Alabama, the offensive line not being able to get blocks, and them being able, because they struggled running the football, to be honest with you, to start the season. And I just, hey Lane, if you're not going to win this year with 10 seniors on defense and 1 junior, I don't see you winning anytime soon.
Well, I told you I had a stat for you. Here it is. Lane Kiffin is 1-19 versus teams that end up going 9 wins or more as the season goes on since he's been at Ole Miss. Who is he beaten? Who have they beaten? Like they don't beat anybody good. They feed off the also rans, the mediocre teams. They'll
get a win against a rival team that's just as mediocre as them.
Right, which counts as okay. They beat a 7-win Mississippi State team or something.
Yeah,
but 1-19 basically that means you're not beating anybody who's ranked.
No,
and I don't even. To be honest with you, I don't even know what the 1 win is. I didn't go back and look at it. I just heard the stat and I was like, wow, he's literally played 20 games where in his tenure at Ole Miss, where teams that go on to finish the season with 9 wins or more, he is 1-19 versus them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't. But what was crazy with you saying that, if you're an AD at a bigger program, do you go after Lane? Like, would Lane be on your list? Like, he's going to get kids there.
No, definitely Lane. That's what I'm saying. He's one of those guys. I think really and truly, like, Ole Miss is a tough place to win, man. It's not one of these. It's like Auburn is a better spot. Hugh Freeze, I think, is going to have a better chance to maybe do something.
I just think more tradition.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, like they think just because they're an SEC, but Ole Miss has never been a traditional like a national power. They've had the Mannings, but they've never like been like where it's like Ole Miss football. That's legit. They've had some good years and some decent times, but
when Hugh Freeze is paying everybody,
that's what I'm saying. They still didn't win nothing.
That's crazy. They had every 5-star at every position and still couldn't win.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, they won some big games, but they also lost some dumb ones. But I think I like Lane, and like we just said, he does a lot of things that brings attention to the program. He recruits well, but big game decisions, big games, they ain't winning them. So you're just a mediocre program. You get a lot of huff and the fluff. You're ranked when the season starts, but you're really not. You haven't done much. So
I think what were they? I think they started off like 6-0 last year, and then went 1-5.
They lost 5 out of the. They got absolutely railroaded by LSU, and then that was the end of it. It was like everybody was hyped up for that game. Like I think it was at Vaught Hemmingway. I think it was at home and everything, and they got destroyed.
Speaking of this week, as the light goes down in Death Valley.
Well, you want to go ahead and talk about that game now? LSU Ole Miss?
Sure.
It wasn't the order I'm going in, but we can get right on it. LSU at number 20, Ole Miss. I like LSU, man. I think just for all those things we talked about, like I don't have LSU's kind of weird and tricky. They played a banger of a game at home last week against Arkansas. Arkansas kind of showed me something in that game after losing to BYU the week before, which was inexplicable in my opinion. But KJ Jefferson and those boys, they took it to LSU, and LSU, stood tall and they won the game at home. I just feel like LSU has a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even being on the road, I just think LSU's got a little bit more.
Same. I like LSU to win this game.
Yeah.
I could see them winning by 10. I mean, could that Alabama loss suck the life out of Ole Miss and then they're just down and even at home and LSU just comes in and just runs it up on them? It's possible.
Yeah, I'd like to see, that's a good gut check to see what does Ole Miss do this week? Like you just lost where everybody's hyping you up and saying this is your year to get Bama. Bama's down. Bama's done. Saban's he's done. Their quarterback stinks. You are going to beat them, and then you get beat. Like Bama. Like the score looked ugly, but like I was like Bama's going to win this game. I never was in fear of like Ole Miss is going to come back and score.
It reminded me of a early 2000s SEC game where you're like, this team's up and they're not going to lose.
I think what the problem is we've gotten lost in the Bama illusion of the Tuas, the Max, the Bryce Youngs, the Amari Coopers and the high flying 40 points a game. This is kind of like going back to Nick's roots of, playing really good defense, having a physical running game,
QB don't turn the ball over,
hitting passes when you need to, and that's kind of what this style of this team. So who knows? Can Bama get back on track and ascend to that because they've got big games down the schedule? So, like I say, but I still feel like this will be a good test for Ole Miss to basically be like, "Hey, you got to get off the mat. We just lost to Bama. Our season's going to go one of two ways. We're going to go up or we're going down after this." So
I think they're going down.
Yep. So like the other game we'll obviously touch real quick on is my boys and where we think we talked about the breakdown of what happened against Charlotte and offensively, and we've discussed it ad nauseum. It's going to come down to can Florida scheme up and be able to run the football, be able to play ball control, get into that 60-minute meat grinder of a defensive struggle because we know Kentucky. We're talking about Utah Tennessee's fronts. Kentucky, I think, is 7th against the run, and Florida is like top 10 rushing yards per carry. So can ETN and Montreal get open holes, get open lanes, create those lanes to soften up the defense to where Mertz can be efficient? Mertz can maybe take a few shots. I don't know. I think I've been less impressed with Devin Leary and the Kentucky offense. They got some playmakers on the outside, but I'm not like the way our defense is playing. I feel good. I feel like we can be in the game, and I feel like it should be a 4-quarter ball game. Who doesn't make the mistakes? Who makes the big play? I think we can come out of there with a win. I'm hoping that. Obviously, I'm going to pick the Gators just because I feel like we have the makeup and the resolve to show some consistency, get off the mat, like make some of those field goals last week into touchdowns. And I guess the only good part everybody talked about was at least we know we got a kicker. The guy can make kicks now that they made the move to Trey Smack, but it's not going to be easy. And I definitely would not be at all surprised if we come out of there, get beat too, because again, this is that show me game of, all right, you came out of the front half of the schedule with beating one of those two teams that you needed to win. Give me the Utah win, give me the Tennessee win. Give me one of those. You knew you were going to beat the other two. And now, okay, you're either 2-2, 3-1. Yeah. So now here comes the big test of, okay, you got out of there. Now you're going on the road, big game. What are you going to do? 12. I like the game being at noon. I don't care if Stoops said that Kentucky fans can down beers at 12 o'clock. Sure, they all can. But I definitely like the game at noon versus being at night. So yeah, I like the Gators in a close one, kind of like the Tennessee score I predicted. I think like 27-23, 27-21, somewhere along that lines.
It's going to be a show me game. Like you say, this is like playing Utah 2.0, where they're going to be physical up front. Stoops always has a physical defense. Devin Leary, like you say, we haven't really seen much of him.
Kentucky hadn't played anybody. Their best win is Vandy.
Yeah, exactly. So we really don't know what to expect. I just think just Florida struggling in Lexington the last several years is huge. Like
Yeah,
you
they
said, maybe the
definitely.
noon game could help to where it's not a night game and the place is rocking and the students are probably still half asleep getting to the game late. I expect it to be a close game. I could see the key to Florida. Can we finish drives? Can we convert red zone opportunities into TDs, like you said? Because if you're kicking 5 field goals, your defense better be lights out
Yeah,
for the game.
definitely.
And then that's what I see. I until they show me, I gotta go with Kentucky. I know Gator fans going in hate me again for picking against yours, but I haven't been impressed this season. I know I just said I don't know much about Kentucky, but we're gonna go with streaks here, and I'm gonna take Kentucky. And I can see it being like a 27-24 type game
You basically
in
got the same
Lexington.
score opposite, basically, is what I got then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like I said, I could definitely see that happening too.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be at all
yeah,
surprised. Like, again,
yeah.
we're
Now,
not.
if you guys come out and boat race those boys, then it's like, okay.
Yeah,
Now you got to go to both Columbias after
yeah,
this, and
yeah. No, like I
what?
said, and
Like
here's
you
the
say,
thing.
this is the game.
I don't necessarily think we're gonna blow them out or anything. I don't. Hopefully, you have that Tennessee magic where you kind of start hot. That, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's the key. Getting a hot start, I think, is
Or
is
get a couple
huge.
turnovers. Yeah.
I think like when Florida starts off hot, they usually have success. When the other team, jumps on them, with a 7 to 10 to 14 point lead, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're fighting from behind, it's like everything gets out of whack. Your offensive, what you wanted to do, your flow is gone. You can't get into any of that rhythm. Teams are then pinning their ears because, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, they ain't going to run the ball no more. So
Yeah.
can Billy, dial up good plays to get them good on the run game? Can that offensive line? I hope Iguakin is back. They say he's game time. They say he should play. Test it.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be huge because he was. You could definitely tell he was a big deal in the Tennessee
In the
game.
Tennessee game, yeah, you
And
notice the difference.
like I say, hopefully Trey Wilson's back too. At the receiver spot because it looked like he was going to come way more
Yeah,
involved.
somebody has to step up. Who's the number
Yeah,
2 guy?
yeah. I mean,
Who's the
that's the
number
thing.
2 guy who can make big plays?
Exactly, because Pearsall's been Mr. Consistent. He does what he does. But yeah, we haven't found that Caleb Douglas, Marcus Burke,
Yeah.
K-Jack, Trey Wilson, like all those guys, they're capable. But I just, we got to see it. And then, the other thing too is like, let's test them. Let's throw it downfield to one of these guys because
Mm-hmm.
I know my boy Marcus Burke can blow the roof off. So the thing is, I guess they just feel like Mertz can't throw it far enough. I don't know. So like I say, we'll
It's
see.
something because
We'll,
you're gonna expect teams to start doubling Pearsall a little bit because they're gonna be like,
yeah.
hey, even if you put them in that bunch set and try to hide them, we're gonna find them because
Yeah.
now you're going against good defensive coordinators the rest of the season. You're not playing against Charlotte
Yeah,
in their
exactly.
defense. These guys
Exactly.
are creative as
You're
hell.
playing against a Stoops defense
Yeah.
that's been tried and true,
Mm-hmm.
balling. That he's going to have his system in place, and all those guys know what he wants.
Yeah.
And that like they're very well coached. Like that's one thing about Kentucky's defense. You already know
You already know.
they look at that film and they know, hey, this is what's coming here. This is what's coming there.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna lie, Kentucky schematically and knowing what to do is you can see it. You can see it like just how it was last year against
So that means you guys are going to have to create turnovers and get short fields.
Yeah, like that's where I'm hoping that the defense can get after
Mm-hmm.
Leary, which they've been doing a good job of. That front's been getting back to the quarterback. I think I saw something about Human Yellen on the DN is winning like 50% of his like pass rush or something, some crazy stat. He's like one of the top in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's necessarily gotten all the sacks, but he's getting the pressures, which is good too, because disruption, pressure, getting the ball out fast, all that comes in the counter. But I mean, I've loved the way really what's been a down point for us in the last couple of years, our backers in the front. I like the front, the defensive front or the rotation that we got. I like a lot of that. And then I love the way Scuba Williams and Shamar James are playing at linebacker. Mm-hmm. And then, we've got some decent corners, some young guys back there, obviously the true freshman at safety. So it's a whole new learning parts defense. Armstrong, I think, has been I think him schematically dialing stuff up defensively, dialing up the pressures and all that. So I'm hoping they're going to come after Leary, get after him, like I say, create some turnovers. And then hopefully, like I say, we can hit some big plays in the run game and get out of there with a win, baby.
Get out of there with a W. That's all that matters. Get out of there with a W.
Yeah, no doubt. So We talked about the Colorado Buffaloes getting blazed up, so now they get to play against the other top dogs in the.
One positive of this game is that USC defense is god awful.
Yeah.
So there could be a backdoor cover here.
I'm taking the backdoor cover. Actually,
you taking the backdoor cover?
I think I am. Like don't get me wrong. USC's offense is explosive and all that, and I caught myself into a trap last week arguing with DH. Talking about USC
it's still 48-24. I think.
I know, but it was just like it was an ugly game. They let I want to say Arizona State hit like several big chunk plays.
It was number 4. Number 4 was balling for Arizona.
If Arizona State can hit chunk plays, then I think Shador and those guys can hit some chunk plays too.
Yeah.
Now, will they? What it's going to come down to is the early initiation of the game. I think if USC gets out steamrolling like Oregon did, it's going to be a blowout. If Colorado can kind of withstand some of those punches early and then make it a little bit of a 21-14 game, 7-point game, I think, they can hang around, and I think USC wins big late, and then you get a late score from Colorado, and then you get the backdoor cover.
Here's a problem you're going to run into. Now you may be down 2 of your top defenders in the secondary.
No, well, you already are down Travis. You're already down Travis Hunter.
You're down Travis Hunter.
I don't think Shiloh's going to play if you had a lacerated kidney. So
no,
this is the big stat in this game too. We talked about running the ball, defensive line, no offensive line. The Colorado defense is like one of the worst against the run. Well, guess what? USC, you would think USC with Caleb Williams, they're high flying. No, their run game has been very efficient, very good all year. So I think Lincoln Riley might get in there and just be like, you know what? We can just hand this thing off all day.
Who's the kid? Marshawn Lattimore? Is that the kid from SC? The other SC from South Carolina out there?
Yeah, it's who's their top back? Their top back is
Marshawn Brooks, is something like that.
Marshawn
Lloyd, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Marshawn Lloyd's leading them he's got 350 yards and the most carries for them boys. But again, like I say, that's what makes it tough is when they're so good at running the ball.
And then how do you stop all those skill guys for SC?
No, that's exactly. They got them in waves, man. They got them in waves. Like I say, I love USC's offense. We talked about their defense being very,
putrid,
just not good. But they looked good to start the year. Then they kind of had a little bit of setback, obviously, Arizona State, So I'll be interested to see how Colorado comes back. How do they get off the mat? I think obviously being at home, I think, that'll help, because going on the road, like we said, is hard. They have the crowd behind them a little bit, so they won't be in that crazy hostile environment like
10 a.m. game.
9 a.m.
Is it 9 a.m.?
Yeah. I think
no, in Colorado. 10
a.m. Yeah. 2 hours. 9 a.m. for USC boys.
Yeah, for USC, yeah. That's so weird, but
I know. It's like Pop Warner, baby. Get up and put your pads on. Get up and put your pads on. But like I say, I like USC. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they boat race them and it's another 42-7. I wouldn't be surprised, but
wouldn't surprise me one bit.
I feel like Colorado, I think, is going to get a little bit better.
Yeah, Jimmy Horn's going to want to get a bounce back game. 1 catch for -3 yards is not it.
Yeah,
not it. So I see him and Weaver having another. I think Weaver had 10 catches last week. Yeah. So they're gonna need someone else to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Friday night matchup in the Pac-12, the other great matchups we're going to have all season Pac-12. The Utah Utes go on the road to DJU's Oregon State, who just caught the L last week to Wazoo. This is a big game for both of these teams, I think. This will be – does Utah take that next step up to where they're the third best team in the league? How does Oregon State respond after, catching their first loss? When they were really and truly, Oregon State was in command of that game, and they were up. And then it was tight, and then Wazoo came out and just, won the game.
I got a couple stats for you.
A couple stats for you?
I think this game is going to be closer just because.
Oh, I think it's going to be a tight game for sure.
Yeah. Utah doesn't have that high-flying offense.
No.
That Oregon State had. Listen to this. Cam Ward, 28 for 34, 404 yards passing.
Yeah, Cam was balling.
Kyle Williams, 7 catches for 174. And Josh Allen, 8 catches for 159.
Yeah,
that's what Oregon State had to go against last week.
Yeah, no, like
they won't have to see that, dude.
Wazoo looks good, man. And they're like a sleeper team that kind of gets forgotten about with all these other teams, And
so I think No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I think Washington State's going to be definitely a team that people are going to have to deal with, and for as well as Oregon State played in the game,
Yeah, they
like I
played.
said, it was what I was wrong. Wazoo was basically in control of that game big. They were up by 21 going into the fourth quarter, and then Oregon State had the late run there, to get it to a touchdown, field goal game. But Wazoo did all that work early and got up big and kind of just cruised in, and then Oregon State made some late plays. DJU had some big throws, and
just
like
ran out of time.
Both teams put up a ton of offense in that game. So Oregon State offensively is pretty damn good, so it'll be a good test going up against one of the better defensive teams in Utah. So I like the matchup in that game. When are we going to see Cam Rising? Utah had a nice win against UCLA. UCLA, I think UCLA, I think they're good, but breaking in a rookie quarterback and Dante Moore, I think they're gonna take their lumps. I think UCLA is gonna be one of those teams that kind of fade back, because I would take all these teams.
I agree.
Washington State, obviously Utah beat them. Oregon State, obviously USC, Oregon. Like the Pac-12 is fun and loaded, so I feel like UCLA is. Now don't get me wrong, UCLA is highly capable of beating any one of those teams too. So that's where the Pac-12, are they going to cannibalize each other all year?
And I like Oregon State in this one. They're going to run the ball. They got their second back, who had more yards than Martinez. So Martinez and the other guy had over 200 yards rushing last week, but it just wasn't enough. And I think going into this week, Oregon State sitting there saying we're going to use our big offensive line to blow these kids off the ball, and we're going to run it. They're going to run the football, and they're going to need DJ to make a couple plays, and he's going to even get into the running game. I like Oregon State probably winning like 24-17, something like that. I don't expect a big outpour of points in this one.
True that. So you're taking the Beavers at home.
Taking the Beavers
after catching the L. All right, I'll just roll with Utah just to be different. I just think defensively, I like I say, I would love for Cam Rising to get back soon, and I don't know when he's going to come. A lot of people thought he was going to play against UCLA, but he didn't. So,
but even if he does, he's still going to be rusty.
Exactly, no, for sure.
8-9 months.
Yeah, this is where one of those games of how good is Oregon State's defense, to whereas we don't think Utah's got that high flying offense.
So. Yeah, they're not going to see the ball aired out as much as they did last week.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the one of the last ones we'll talk about is the game day game. Notre Dame's redemption game to get off the mat after they caught the L against Ohio State. The Dukies are hyped up. They're in the top 25.
Yeah.
They've beat Clemson already this year. Get college game day in town. Coach Kville will probably be tent city with all those guys, being hyped up for that. Like, I don't know. What do you think in this one? What's your sentiment for? I'll let you take this one off the top, and I'll tell you what I think.
Like you said, does Notre Dame get off the mat after losing a heartbreaker that you should have won last week? Can you get refocused and get right? This week they're going to have a little more stressed on them with the quarterback Riley Leonard. He's going to be able to pull the ball. He could easily go 40, 50 yards on a QB run. So that Notre Dame defense is going to be tested a little bit. And just like Duke's going to be tested with Sam Hartman and Estime. I think Estime's been having a great year so far running the ball and just being physical. I think Notre Dame's going to bounce back and possibly win this one.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't surprise me if Duke won it. I mean, after watching them against Clemson, you're like, all right, I could see it, but now you got to show me. But I like Notre Dame in this one with Sam Hartman having 2 touchdowns.
I agree. I like Notre Dame. Not to take anything away from Duke beating Clemson that week one. Obviously, the comedy of errors with all the turnovers definitely helped Duke get that win. But Duke took all that. They took it. They played defense. They shut down Clemson too, and they got the turnovers. But I think just watching that Notre Dame Ohio State game, I still feel like those are two of the top teams in the country. I think Notre Dame defensively, I think showed me that I like that, and that's saying a lot because we've seen Notre Dame defenses in the past where they haven't been as good. I do love I love their physicality. I think they play good defense. So I like Notre Dame's D, and then I like Sam Hartman. I like Estime. I like the way the offense even looked in a struggle. Even in a struggle against Ohio State.
A good Ohio State defense.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think Ohio State's got a really good D, and I think they took it to them. They had some big plays that they left on the board. I think in that game, but I like Notre Dame to bounce back and beat the Blue Devils.
Yeah, same.
So like I say, I guess this is a wind down time. I don't know if you want to talk about. There was a few other games that we had, like Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, South Carolina. Those two. I feel like Georgia beats Auburn. I don't think Georgia has any. I mean, I think Auburn's
I
still
agree.
learning a little bit. I think Hugh Freeze has still got some time. I think
Yeah.
Georgia, even though Georgia's been less impressive, this will be another, at least a team with a heartbeat they got to play. So, but I still think Georgia
it's going to be. I
wins.
think it's going to be one of those games like how Georgia's been playing. Starts off slow and then they slowly pull away a little bit. Like you say, Auburn just doesn't have enough at the moment. They'll get reinforcements because we know Hugh Freeze is a hell of a recruiter.
Yeah.
They're going to be transfer portal guys. I think they're going. I think Georgia's going to win, and then South Carolina, Tennessee. I don't get this Tennessee minus 12.5.
Yeah, the line's pretty big.
If I'm taking the line, I'm taking South Carolina in this game.
Yeah, I'll definitely take the point. I think Tennessee wins the game, but I don't think they win by 2 touchdowns.
No, I don't see that either.
Like South Carolina, they've been good, and I think Spencer Rattler, if you go look at the numbers, he's had a hell of a start to the season. I mean,
this is all about protecting him.
It definitely, and
that's all what it is.
This is a game where I want to see what Joe Milton does. We talked about Milton against Florida. What does Joe Milton look like? He's, you're playing at home. Is the game in Knoxville, right? The game's in Knoxville.
Game's in Knoxville. That's correct.
Yeah. So you're playing at home. You got the home crowd behind you. A little bit of redemption from getting blazed last year. You think Tennessee might have some of that, we got embarrassed by these guys last year, but I think Tennessee finds a way to win. But I definitely can see South Carolina. They've been playing well. They played good against North Carolina and didn't get the win. They played a good first half against Georgia, flaked out in the second half, got the loss there, but I like the way Spencer's playing, so I think they can be in the game. But like I say, a lot of it boils down to how good is that Tennessee offense going to rebound from, Florida. So I don't know. We'll see. But I guess let's finish it off with the our top 10s, man. Anything change in your top 10 with some of those? Early?
Yeah, I got FSU had a big win against Clemson. I moved them to 3.
Number 3.
I know people will say, well, Clemson wasn't in the top 25 or whatever, but it's still a huge win. It's a rival game. It is a rival game. You snapped a 7-game losing streak to them. And I still think Clemson's going to be decent. They're still going to have a good season.
I agree with that.
And it's 2 big wins versus Texas, 1 big win. I know people are going to be, oh, what about Georgia, Michigan? No one's going to beat them. They're my top 2. So I got Georgia. I still got OSU at 5. That was a huge win at Notre Dame. You got to give them credit. They came out with the W.
You broke up on me. You get break it down again. Give me your 1 through. You broke up on me.
5. So I still got Georgia, Michigan 1, 2, FSU 3, Texas 4, Ohio State 5, USC 6, Penn State 7, UW 8, Oregon 9, and Utah 10, which could change.
The Utes, baby.
Yeah.
I went crazy on mine. I changed it up because I'm like, you know what? Let's go off of who's got good wins, big wins.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
I'm like, screw Georgia. You're not number 1 anymore. All right. I'm going Texas number 1, baby. Texas. I still feel like they got one of the biggest wins, at Tuscaloosa. I went ahead and bumped Ohio State up to 2. I've got Georgia at 3.
So hold on a second. If you put Texas, why don't you have the team out west at number 2?
Because I don't like them. I like Texas.
No, I said number 2. You had Texas at 1.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I don't like the team out west still like that. So I'm not giving them that much love.
That 1 win at Notre Dame Stadium was bigger than LSU and Clemson.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. It's your top 10.
Exactly.
It's your top 10. Who else? Who you got 3?
I got Georgia at 3. I got the team out west at 4. Here's my sneak pick. I got Washington at number 5.
Dude, man, listen. They were up almost 21-0 before Penix got on. Well, 21. It was 14-7, I think, before Penix even got on the field.
Yeah,
they had a pick 6, a punt return. He has 3 receivers that are just Adunze, Polk, and McMillan. And I think all 3 receivers are averaging over 100 yards a game receiving.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I say, I got Washington at 5.
The lefty.
I got SC at 6.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not mad at that.
Okay, and I'll put Michigan at 7.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna go. I got Bama back at 8. I feel like I say,
I'm
they're
cool with the front 7. Bama in the top 10. I don't
know. Scrap that. I'm gonna go Penn State, and then I'll go. I'm gonna go Bama at 10 then.
Okay. Who's you have at 9?
Or excuse me, I screwed up. I got Oregon at 7 after SC.
Okay.
Penn State.
Okay.
Then we'll go Bama at 10. So I got Ohio. Leading off, Texas is my number 1 team in the country right now.
Yeah.
The Ohio State Buckeyes, the Georgia Bulldogs, the Florida State Seminoles, the Washington Huskies, the USC Trojans, the Oregon Ducks, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Did I put Michigan in there yet?
You had them. I would assume you had them at 9.
I got them after. Now, you know what? I'm gonna bump them up ahead of Penn State because whatever.
Yeah.
Then I got basically Michigan, Penn State, Bama. That's my top 10. I'm doing some shakeups, baby.
Hey,
some shakeups.
That group chat is going to be popping when Ricky listens to this.
Let's go.
He's going to be like,
Florida State is going to the Florida State's going to the playoffs. So who cares where they're ranked?
But still, it's like you're taking a slide at them.
Yeah,
you're taking a slide at them.
Yeah, they're in the AP poll. They're still
like 3 or 4.
I got them at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, basically in the AP they're 5th and they're 4th in the coaches poll. So I've got them ranked higher than the coaches.
I don't understand that.
Because we just said it. Georgia,
we're splitting hairs here. But
that's what I'm saying. Georgia and Michigan right now, and the coaches and the AP, they're anointed because of where they were last year.
The thing you sent in the group chat last night.
That was
Josh
the quadrant.
Had them number 1.
No, that was something else. Josh Pate has Ohio State number 1.
I just think, I'm not I don't know. It seems like I'm a Florida State fan going through this season.
You're a Nole fan. You're a Nole fan.
Undercover. But
no, Josh Pate has them at 10. At 10.
That's what I don't know how that. But my thing is, show me a team that have 2 bigger wins than Florida State.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. You can't.
You can't.
You can say Ohio State's got the big win against Notre Dame. You say Texas got the big win against Bama.
You can say they have 1 big win.
That's what I'm saying. They got the one. Those 2 teams have 1 big win.
Yeah,
they don't have
Florida
the 2.
State has 2.
Yeah. Like I say, here's the good part about it. This is what we say all the time.
The rest of the season. Yeah, you got the rest of the season. Yeah.
Rankings are dumb anyways.
It's just for us to argue at this moment.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
I mean, you just don't want to give that team out West credit. Just like you would say, I won't give that team in Gainesville any credit.
You're right, but I've been a freaking Florida State homer and a fan this year. Listen, if you go back and listen to all these podcasts, I'm like, the love affair I'm giving Florida State is ridiculous.
You just like what they have. I mean,
no, I do. They've got a great makeup. I love their offense. I love their defense. Like I love everything they got going on.
From the beginning is, can they keep Jordan upright?
Yeah, and the good part about it is, a lot of these teams are going to play each other. They're going to, everything's going to sort itself out. So
yeah,
I think
one of my favorite rival games might be relevant this year. The Apple Cup, it might be relevant.
I'm telling you, Washington State,
the Civil War. Hey,
Oregon State
might be the last time these rivalry games are played.
Honestly, I can't wait to watch. We bashed the Big Ten, with the mediocrity off the top, but it's going to be fun to watch the Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan trio play around each other. Now, those are going to be good games. Those are going to be good games for sure. So, all right, my people, we are wrapping it up with a Week 5 edition of the college football season. Enjoy the games. This has been a good one. It's been a long one. It's been jam-packed. If you stuck with us for this, we appreciate you. Like I say, don't forget to go hit the like, the subscribe, the share, the love. Send us all, comments, whatever. We're on here weekly breaking down what happened, with the week, and then looking forward to the next week. And we continue on as another edition of Talking Ball with Faro and Spongerelli. We appreciate y'all. Signing off.
Peace.
Peace.